Hello, everyone. It's Justine, and I am here for the presentation, for the live, for the Q&A. So throw me your questions if you have any about my presentation or about crafting in general, and I'd be happy to answer them. So during the presentation, I talked lots about bulk card making, what makes good bulk cards, and worked with some distress sprays and things like that. And we have our first question. How many Christmas cards has everyone made so far in 2023? So I think everybody's going to have to answer that one in the chat. Me personally, because I made these ones, I'm ahead of the game, I feel. And I've maybe made about 5 others, I would say. Yeah, you'll get some done during the summit this weekend. If you're not busy watching, or if you're creating alongside the creators, you'll get your Christmas cards done there. Yeah, it's hard to get yourself motivated, especially when it's so nice outside. You don't really want to be thinking about snow and holidays necessarily, but getting them done early, I can only recommend it because really you're getting everything ahead before the stress starts of the season, and Christmas can be really stressful. I am always down to the last minute when it comes to making cards, and I always underestimate that period of writing and addressing the cards. It takes so long. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate you watching. So if anybody isn't on or watching my YouTube videos, just youtube.com/Justine Hovey. Click the subscribe button, make that number go up. New to card making, made a grand total of 5 cards ever. I think it's amazing when you've only made 5 cards ever. And then I would love to be a fly on the wall while you're watching something like this card making success summit and seeing all of these techniques and all of these possibilities and things like that. I hope it's not overwhelming. Take what you can from it, but it's nice to see what the possibilities are. I spoke about a Christmas card video. Where can we find that? I think it's been a long time since I recorded the video, but I think that was a part of the freebie, was it not? I'm not too sure, but yeah. If not, I will get that fixed for you. So. Okay, any other questions for me? Anything crafty related or card making related? Bulk cards especially is my specialty, and making them's a lot of fun. I can't see any of the chats actually. Oh, there they are. There we are. Sorry about that. There we go. I was in the private chat earlier. I was like, well, I'm not seeing any comments come up. Can I talk more about distress oxide sprays and colors you used? So you can download the supply list at any time to see which colors I used. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. They're bluey colors. I think it's probably something like ice spruce, looks like maybe tumbled glass, something like that. So you have to download the supply list. I don't remember off the top of my head. But the distress oxide sprays, what do you want to know about them? I mean, they're sprays. They work similar to the oxide inks in that they dry in sort of a milky sort of creamy finish, I guess you could say, versus very bright inks. They generally give you a lot of time to mix and mingle with each other, which is quite nice. If you have any specific questions about distress oxide sprays, I'd be happy to help. What inspires me most? Products, actually. So I don't really go onto very often, like onto inspiration like Instagram or Pinterest or whatever to figure out what kind of cards I want to make. Usually I take something in my hand that I want to work with, like whether it be a stamp or a die or a stencil, and I go from there. So I'm usually inspired by my actual stash. Yeah. Where did you get the Let It Snow die? It's from Lawn Fawn, that one. Yeah. And there's a supply list as well in the video description. Scrapbook.com would sell it. Lawn Fawn would sell it. It's from last year, so it's possible that some stores like the one-stop shops don't have it anymore, but Lawn Fawn should have it. What are your favorite methods for making large sheets of backgrounds to cut up? Well, sprays are one of them. You saw how it worked. You could cut them down and get a whole bunch of cards out of one sheet. So if I'm working on like a US letter size, an 8.5 by 11, or an A4 in Europe. Gel printing is really good for that. Distress oxide sprays. If I'm using Tailored Expressions has like large stencils that are meant for computer-sized sheets of paper. Those are the things generally that I use to cut up. Yeah. Where do I get my white cardstock? Generally, I use just Nina Solar White cardstock. I get it off of Amazon in a ream. Just make sure it's solar white and it's not like the $10 or $12 packs of reams. It's around the $50 mark, I think. They are quite a little bit pricey, but that's generally what I use. My favorite style of card to make, do you mean like cut or like size or holiday occasion? I'm not sure. I'll answer both questions. I mean, my favorite cards to make are holiday cards. I make generally just A2 size cards, 4.25 by 5.5 inches. Yeah. With the oxides, I just use normal paper. You don't need to use watercolor paper or anything like that. You aren't spraying and saturating your paper a ton. I mean, one spray goes a long way, especially if you hold it back far enough. So generally, you should be holding it back like 10 inches or so, roughly, unless, and if you are worried about warping, you could use watercolor cardstock or you could use heavy cardstock from Ranger. That would work too, but I just used regular Nina. Kind of. Okay, I get what you're saying. So what I do once I have like what I'm ready for the assembly part of bulk card making, so I've done all my stamping and this and that. So each step, generally, I just keep everything in a pile. And then I usually have piles, like I have my card bases, my backgrounds, I would have the sentiment in this case, and embellishments. And then, yes, I would just grab and continue going, kind of like a conga line. But I wouldn't like take 10 backgrounds and line them all up. They would be in a pile. I don't. Thanks, Tiffany. So everything like is labeled and has its place in the craft box. So I don't actually have a hard time generally keeping it organized. I would say what I have a hard time keeping relatively clear is like my desk space. But I do notice like I just got a laser machine and it's getting a little crowded in here where things are kind of migrating outside of the box. Regular distress sprays will work as well. Tiffany's actually the expert on distress sprays, but they will react a little bit differently than the oxide inks will. You won't get the exact look, but they will work for sure. Yeah. I don't think that it's about self-control or anything like that. It's more or less has to do with the fact that I don't have a ton of time to think of 50 or 60 different card ideas for my card making. So generally, yeah, I come up with 5 or 6 designs, or maybe I'll come up with even 10 and just pick my favorites and bulk card make them from there. So it's more of a time issue. My favorite inks are Catherine Pooler inks by far. Special brand of what? Inks, cardstock, sprays. Sure, I can talk about my membership. So I have a membership. It's called Justine Hovey VIP. And what it is it's $9 a month or $95 a year. And you get access to all of my courses and classes, and then each month I generally do either a live class or a pre-recorded class. I kind of alternate monthly between live and pre-recorded. You get an exclusive video, and then I throw in a whole bunch of bonuses like behind the scenes looks or things that I'm working on and all kinds of stuff. So the membership program is a lot of fun. We have crops, we come together. There's all sorts of events happening throughout the month and the year. And like I said, it kind of goes two ways. So if you're the type of person that would probably buy my courses that I come out with, then you get all of that. If you sign up for the membership, you get that plus all of these bonuses. And if you're someone who wants to sign up for the membership because you want to craft live with me, or you want to craft live with others, or you like exclusive videos and you want more, then the courses are also an added bonus. So it's a really good deal. It's a lot of fun. And yeah. I did not start my own stamp company. I have my own product line with a company that is already established. So I work with Craft Stash, and I have products that are supposed to come out roughly every 2 months. There's a little delay with this one here. I'm just working on some of the quality issues, and then should be, out soon, end of the month, I think. So what's your favorite cardstock for bases? I don't actually use a different cardstock for my bases anymore. So I used to always buy Nina Solar White 110 pound for bases and 80 pound for my card panels. And this was just something that, I saw everyone else doing, so I did it. And then when I noticed that scrapbook.com and Spellbinders and all these places were selling card bases that were Nina Solar White, pre-cut, pre-scored, and they were all 80 pound, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Can I just use the 80 pound for the bases? I mean, if I'm using a card panel and I'm always using a base, it thickens up anyway once I start adding all the layers on it. So I just use Nina Solar White 80 pound for pretty much everything. How do I set up for bulk? I actually pre-plan for bulk. So if I'm going to do something bulk, I will actually have the card either made, one of them, or I will have it in my head anyway and literally think about, okay, how many cards do I have to make and what steps are involved? Like, okay, I got to cut, I got to stamp, I got to die cut, I got to glue, I got to add embellishments. And then I go from there, and I only do one step at a time. And I try and let myself, when it comes to doing the steps, I try to complete or allow myself enough time to complete an entire step in between. So I won't sit down if I only have 10 minutes to, ink blend all of my backgrounds. I will make sure that I have the time to do it from start to finish, or else I end up setting them to the side and then never looking at them again. Oh, thank you, Regina, for buying my new line. So my new line is called It's Just Paper. The idea being not that it's just paper as in product, but it's just paper, like just do it. You know what I mean? So my first line was sunflowers. The second line is, like I said, coming out at the end of the month with the Christmas themed. And that was supposed to be Christmas in July, but it got pushed back a little bit. And then September will be fall themed. So it's a little bit reversed with leaves and all sorts of pretty things. Yeah. What's your favorite theme to work with and favorite products? A theme, I'm assuming like type of card. So again, holiday cards are my favorite to make by far. Birthday cards are my least favorite, even though they're ones I often need. And my favorite products, I love hot foiling. I love layering, stenciling at the moment. And heat embossing was kind of like my first love. When I get stuck for an idea, what do you do? So it's similar to what I was saying earlier about what am I inspired by. So if I'm stuck for an idea, what I will do is I will flip through usually either my stamps, dies, or stencils, and I'll start flipping through, find something then that I've never worked with before or hasn't been used very much at all. And if at that point I don't have an idea, then I will often Google the set, or I will look it up on the company website or whatever, and I will see other pieces created with that product and then go from there. Yeah. You spoke about saving time to make a lot of cards, but if adding more time to create additional elements means prettier cards, would you prefer that over saving time? I don't know. I make a lot of cards throughout the year, so I don't really feel like if I don't make 50 different holiday cards and everyone gets an individually styled one, that's a big deal. I mean, I feel like I spend a lot of time crafting in my life. So I'm okay with how I do things and making the holiday ones in bulk. Yeah. Thank you, Debbie. Okay. When it comes to I would also, if I was putting cards in for a gift, so that's what I do quite often. I have a whole class about it, turn cards into gifts, and which is also on bulk card making. what I do is I always think about like what cards, it depends. I have two goals sometimes. What cards do people need the most? So birthday cards, sympathy cards, thank you cards are generally the ones that I put into a gift set like this one. But I also enjoy putting in cards like a just because, or here's a note, or just wanted to say hi, because it is my sincere hope that someone would send happy mail spontaneously out of the blue and make someone's day versus for an occasion when a card is kind of expected. So I always kind of throw in one or two of those as well. But I am realistic in the fact that oftentimes those ones that don't get sent. I see my mom's stash of all the cards that I've created for her, and those are the always ones that are left over. Complete newbie here. Do you use a Cricut or cutting machine besides a die cut machine? And what keeps you motivated to get your products done? I don't have a problem of starting and not finishing. All right. So I do own a Cricut and a manual die cutting machine. Generally, I pull out the Cricut for when I am making something very custom for a specific person in mind that I know that I want to do. Let's say the person loves Star Wars or Harry Potter or, something like that. And I'm not going to go out and buy a stamp set so I can make that one person a card that is Harry Potter themed. Okay. So then I will use my Cricut for something like that, more for the customization. And then my die cutting machine I use for like everydays, like thank yous and birthdays and backgrounds and things like that. I personally like the fact that when I'm crafting, I'm kind of getting away from the digital. So I tend to not take out my Cricut as often as I would like to. And what keeps me motivated to get my products done, or my projects done, I'm guessing, not taking on anything too much. So when I first started a newbie like you, I was a scrapbooker, for example, and then it would just take forever to finish anything. And so I just, when I went to card making, it was like, okay, I'm just going to make a card from start to finish. And that's it. I mean, my cards keep things simple. If you watch my videos, my cards never really take me longer than about 10 minutes to make. And yeah, so do the techniques you enjoy and you'll finish them, I think. Yeah. Mm, I do use it for hot foiling, but I know it's not always the best for results. So when it comes to hot foiling, for anyone that has used it and hasn't maybe had the best results, it's often is on your cardstock's fault. But when it comes to white cardstock, I don't own a lot of other brands. I find it's fine, the Nina Solar white cardstock, when it's very thin lined images. But when it comes to solids, I'll use something else. But don't ask me what brand I use, because I just kind of grab things out of my drawer and hope that it works. So always test your cardstock if you're hot foiling. Do you like to make many fun fold cards? I do not, actually. I like a gatefold card now and again, one that kind of opens from the center. But no, I don't actually enjoy making fun fold cards all that often. If they're simple, it's okay. But yeah. There's this problem for signing up. Okay, I can't check it right now with the freebies, but I will be on it as soon as I'm off the live stream. So if there's a problem signing up for my freebie, I will have it fixed shortly. Hopefully, I will email Brandy and Harriet. What was it that got you started? Like I said, I got started with scrapbooking. My cousin had a baby album that she was making when her daughter was born, and then I was kind of inspired by that, got into scrapbooking, and then card making just kind of was a natural progression after that. My favorite tool to use at the moment or now, I think the thing I use the most is my die cutting machine. My favorite tool, I would say, that I get the most enjoyment from at the moment is my hot foil machine. I do not use my Cricut to print and cut. Yeah, I would prefer dies and stamped images for sure. The print and cut feature on Cricut, I just feel like my printer is just not that great of quality to do that. So yeah, and it's not my style. Like things like critters and things like that aren't my style. So for me, yeah, stamps and dies. You can see them right here. I use the Organize More ink holders to store my inks for stamping. I do not get frustrated when, okay, there's two scenarios, I guess. Here, I'll answer them as quickly as I can. So I don't get frustrated when things don't turn out, because I see it as a time to think of, okay, what didn't work out? Why didn't it work out? And what can I improve upon, or what do I need to practice? I also schedule myself times in my craft room, especially the times when I don't really have any ideas in my head, to experiment with things. And so when I have an experiment day, those are the things that I do where I'm not very practiced in the technique, things like gel printing, things like sprays, things like that. So I can just play without any expectation whatsoever that it's going to turn into something good, I guess you could say. Yeah, I get frustrated, I guess you could say, when I have a technique that I'm doing that doesn't work for some reason because I spill my embossing powder or something like that. Like, sure, I'll get frustrated for a brief second, but I'm a pretty chill person. So I'm a Montessori teacher by day. And so I'm always talking to my students about how, it's a process and you got to fall in love with the process, not the end result. And so I try to think of it that way. Hot foiling it's a machine. It uses plates that kind of look like dies, and then you put it on a machine, it heats it up, you put a piece of foil on it, and run it through a die cutting machine, and it essentially stamps, but with foil. So it's shiny, and it's got a little bit of a debossed look, very pretty. I don't know if I have anything, hold on. That is hot foiled here at the moment, because I always seem to send those ones. There we go. So you can see, like, I hot foiled the diamonds. They resist ink, they're shiny, they don't scratch off, that kind of thing. I don't have a dream box. I have what's called a brand box. They're essentially the same idea, though. I do like it quite a bit. I like the fact that when guests come over, I can close it up. But my main motivation for getting one of these was I work out in the hallway. You can kind of see here, it's a hallway. My husband works in home office. So this is my office space, and I like the fact that I can close it up at the end of the day. And that's my main thing. And it keeps my supplies contained. I have a very small space that I live in, and so that's what works for me. It depends. I have a couple die cutting machines. So I have the Sizzix Switch. It's an electric one where you don't have to crank. I've had that for a couple months now. Works well. I like it. I enjoy it. And I have the Platinum and Platinum 6. Actually, I have both. Don't ask me why I have both. One's 8.5 by 11. One is the smaller size. And I use that, again, for running through my hot foil machine and things like that. It will run through my Sizzix Switch, actually, the hot foil machine. But sometimes, I don't know. I just like to manual die cut. I don't know why. Do you prefer one make of hot foil die over another? No. I don't think, like, going from brand to brand, I haven't found any difference between the hot foil die. It's all about the image itself. It's like a stamp set, like I like stamps from Pinkfish Studios and Concord and 9th and whatever, but I'm not a fan of maybe something that does critters. I don't know. So it has to do with the image, not the actual die itself. Yeah. I don't have a brick and mortar store here. I live in Europe, so they're few and far between, especially getting the supplies that you all see from the States wouldn't be possible. So I always shop online. So for Europe, I shop at Card Nouveau, it's called. It's out of Belgium. And I will get stuff from Craft Stash, where my product line is. And then if I can't find it at all here, then I'll order from scrapbook.com. And I love scrapbook.com, but international gets complicated with customs and things like that. So I try and find everything here first. Do I do any other crafts other than card making? I have some other hobbies. So I have sewed I can sew, but I don't do it too often anymore. I really like working with laser machines and cutting wood. I'm kind of dabbling in wax seals right now, which I don't necessarily find as card making necessarily, just because I find it quite fun. But yeah, those are kind of the other crafting areas that I work in. Do you make spare pieces in case one gets ruined when you make a lot of cards? Yeah, if I'm bulk card making the same card, I will probably make 2 or 3 extras. If I'm cutting anything with the Cricut, I will cut 2 or 3 of them just in case something gets ruined along the way. But if I'm making just a single card, generally not. I think giving ourselves permission to play is important, but hard to do. You, Ardith, and Tiffany excel at it, and I love your videos. Thank you, Terry. Yes, giving yourself permission to play and to not be good at something is important. I always say everybody expects themselves to be an expert right away at a technique or at card making when they first start. And it really is just, it takes time. Do you have a class on gel printing or a source you can suggest to learn more? I do not have I'm really not an expert on gel printing at all. As far as courses, if there's a course, like you want a paid course, I recommend Carolyn Doobie. Her course is really good for gel printing. And then if you just want some inspiration, Tiffany Solario makes good gel printing videos. Ardith has done a few videos on like how to use your inks and stuff on your gel printing. And Birgit Koopsen, her name is also really good inspiration on Instagram. I do a class on organization, yes. So I have there's two things I do on organization. So I have an actual summit like this one in the spring in April, papercraftersgetorganized.com. If you go there, you can get on the wait list if you don't miss out. Again, that's free. You can buy a paid ticket, that kind of thing. And then I have a class that I sell that is called Crafters Chaos Conquered. All of those can be found at JustineHoveyClasses.com. And if you're a member, you get that for free. Just keeping that in mind. And it has a workbook to get yourself into the mindset of organizing and then how to declutter and how to organize. And we also have a live meeting once a month. Our last meeting is happening in September, and then they will probably resume again next year, and they will resume in the member group. So if you're a member, we also have live meetings for those of you that need craft organization therapy group. My members have a class for hot foil already. I haven't released it to the public because the thing is with hot foiling is if you go to the Spellbinders YouTube channel, they have like a playlist, and there's I think like a 2-hour live stream I think they did, or 2.5 hours, where they show you everything on hot foiling. So I'm not really sure if there's a whole lot more that I can contribute, but I am working on something for hot foiling, but it's coming out probably I don't know. It's hard to plan these days, but towards the end of the year to early next year. Foiling or heat embossing, which do you prefer and why? I'm not picking. That would be like picking children. I like foiling because I think it looks very classy and it makes it look very almost like not handmade, very professional looking, I guess. They have the kind of the same principles though. Like, I mean, they both resist ink, they both are shiny. So this is why I like both of them. Heat embossing is also gorgeous, has a lot of techniques. So yeah, I don't really find a huge difference between the two of them, to be honest. Yeah. I think there's only 2 hot foil machines on the market, is there not? I mean, there's the Spellbinders Glimmer machine, and then there's the Crafter's Companion foil machine. And that's going to depend which one you want. They work the same on which die cutting machine you have. Because after you finish hot foiling, you got to run it through your die cutting machine to add pressure to it. And so if you have a Platinum 6, there's a list on Spellbinders websites of all the machines that it's compatible with. So the Platinum machine from Spellbinders, it works with the Big Shot, it works with the Sizzix Switch and a bunch of others. And then the Crafter's Companion works with the Gemini line. So if you have a Gemini machine, you want the Crafter's Companion one. I was told at one time to store my ink pads upside down to help them from drying out. What are your thoughts? I don't have many thoughts on it. I was told that too, like when I was in my class close to my heart days or buying from Stampin' Up, they actually made their ink pads so that they flipped and the ink was at the top. Sure, the ink is going to stay towards the surface of the ink pad, but when I flip it over and I stamp with it, it's going to sink back to the bottom. So I don't know. I have mine stored right side up. I don't have any issues. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. If you have any questions, just take me in the Facebook group and I will take a look at what's going on with the freebie, and hopefully that will be fixed in the next little bit. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.